She waited for him at the same place every sunset, not knowing if he would ever return. But one night, a mysterious book appeared at her door, and what happened next changed her life forever. He disappeared without saying goodbye, leaving her with nothing but memories. Months later, a single book brought him back into her life, but was he finally ready to ask the question she had been waiting for? What would you do if the person you loved disappeared, and returned months later with a secret in his hand? This is the story of love, waiting, and a moment that could change two lives forever. Emma first saw Daniel on a rainy afternoon at a small bus stop near the old town library. The sky was gray, and people rushed past with umbrellas. But Daniel stood there calmly, holding a book in one hand and smiling gently. When their eyes met, Emma felt something strange, like a moment she had been waiting for without knowing it. Days turned into weeks, and somehow they kept meeting at the same place. Sometimes they talked about books, sometimes about dreams. Daniel wanted to travel the world one day. Emma dreamed of opening a small art studio. Their conversations were simple, but every word felt warm and real. One evening, while watching the sunset from the hill near the town, Emma realized her heart had quietly chosen Daniel. His laughter made her forget her worries, and his kindness made the world feel softer. She wondered if he felt the same, but fear kept her silent. Daniel once said softly, "Some people meet for a reason, maybe to stay forever." Emma's heart raced when she heard that. She began to hope that one day he might ask her to marry him. She started imagining a future, small home, shared dreams, and a life built together. The unexpected goodbye. But one morning, Daniel arrived with a serious face. "I have to leave the city for some time," he said quietly. Emma felt her world pause. She wanted to ask him so many things, but the words stayed trapped in her heart. And as Daniel walked away that day, Emma stood there with one silent hope still alive in her heart. Will he ever come back, and will her one true love finally ask her to marry him? After Daniel left, the city felt strangely empty to Emma. The same bus stop, the same road, the same library, everything looked the same, yet nothing felt the same. Every evening she still walked past the bus stop, hoping somehow he would appear again with that gentle smile and the book in his hand. Days slowly turned into months. Emma often sat on the hill where they once watched the sunset together. The wind felt colder now, but the memories were warm. She remembered Daniel's words, "Some people meet for a reason, maybe to stay forever." Those words became the small light she held onto in her heart. One quiet morning, Emma received a letter with Daniel's handwriting on it. Her hands trembled as she opened it. "I'm far from the city now," he wrote, "but some memories travel with me wherever I go, especially the moments we shared." Emma read the letter again and again, her heart filled with both happiness and longing. The letter didn't say when he would return. It didn't promise anything. But it reminded Emma that she was not forgotten. That small thought kept her hope alive. She continued her life, painting in her small studio, yet every sunset reminded her of Daniel. One evening, as Emma closed her studio, she noticed something surprising. A familiar book was placed quietly on her doorstep, the same book Daniel was holding the first day they met. Her heart started beating fast. Was Daniel finally back, or was this just another mystery waiting to unfold? Emma slowly picked up the book from her doorstep. Her fingers trembled as she touched its worn cover. It was the same old novel Daniel used to carry everywhere. Inside the first page, she noticed a small note written in his handwriting. "Some stories take time, but the best ones are worth waiting for." Her heart began to race. Did this mean he was somewhere nearby? Emma quickly stepped outside and looked around the quiet street. The evening lights had just begun to glow, and people were slowly walking home. For a moment she thought she saw a familiar figure at the end of the road, but when she looked again, the person had already disappeared into the crowd. That night, Emma couldn't stop thinking about the note. Something in her heart told her to visit the hill where they used to watch sunsets together. When she arrived, the sky was painted with soft orange and purple colors. The wind moved gently through the grass, just like the evenings they once shared. As Emma stood there holding the book close to her chest, she suddenly noticed someone standing far away near the old tree on the hill. The figure looked familiar, tall, calm, and silent against the fading light. Her breath caught in her throat. Could it really be Daniel after all this time? Emma slowly began walking toward the shadow. Her heart was beating louder with every step. She had waited for this moment for so long, yet now she felt both hope and fear. And just as the figure started turning toward her, Emma stopped, wondering if the answer to her love story was finally about to appear. Emma's heart pounded as the figure slowly turned toward her. The fading sunlight made it hard to see his face clearly. For a moment, time felt frozen. The wind moved softly through the grass, and Emma held the book tightly against her chest. Just as Emma was about to speak, the man took a small step forward. "Emma," the voice said quietly. Her breath stopped. It was a voice she could never forget. The same calm, warm voice that once filled her evenings with laughter and dreams. Daniel stood a few steps away, looking almost the same yet slightly changed. His eyes carried the weight of time and distance. Emma wanted to run to him, to ask 1,000 questions, but her feet stayed still. So many days of waiting had turned her courage into silence. Daniel looked at the book in her hands and smiled softly. "I hoped you would find it," he said. "I wasn't sure if you would still come here." Emma finally found her voice. "I never stopped coming," she whispered. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The sky slowly darkened, and the first stars began to appear. Daniel looked at Emma with the same gentle expression she remembered, but something in his eyes seemed uncertain, as if he was carrying a story he hadn't told yet. And just as Emma gathered the courage to ask him why he had really come back, Daniel slowly reached into his pocket, holding something hidden in his hand. What he was about to reveal could change everything between them. Emma's eyes followed Daniel's hand as he slowly pulled it from his pocket. In his palm was a small silver box. The moonlight reflected softly on its surface. Emma's heart started beating faster. 1,000 thoughts rushed through her mind. Daniel looked down at the box for a moment before looking back at Emma. His eyes held both warmth and nervousness. "I carried this with me for a long time," he said quietly. "But I was never sure when the right moment would come." Emma felt the cool night air around her, yet her hands felt warm and shaky. "Why did you leave without telling me?" she finally asked, her voice soft but full of emotion. Daniel sighed gently. "Because I needed to find something important before I could come back to you." Daniel stepped a little closer. The distance between them felt smaller now, but the silence was heavy with emotions. "Emma," he said, "every place I went, every city I saw, none of them felt right without you." Emma's eyes slowly filled with tears she had held back for so long. Daniel slowly opened the silver box. Emma could see something shining inside, but the dim light made it hard to see clearly. Her heart felt like it might burst with hope and fear at the same time. Then Daniel looked directly into her eyes and took a deep breath, as if he was about to say the words that could change both of their lives forever. But before he could speak, a sudden sound came from behind them on the quiet hill. Emma turned around in surprise. Emma quickly turned around when she heard the sound behind them. It was only the wind pushing an old wooden bench, making it creak softly. She took a deep breath and looked back at Daniel. The moment they had waited for was still there, quiet and real beneath the starlit sky. Daniel gently held the small silver box and opened it fully. Inside was a simple, shining ring. His hands trembled slightly, but his voice was steady. "Emma," he said softly, "I left because I wanted to build a future I could be proud to share with you. But every day away from you made me realize that the real future I wanted was simply a life with you." Emma's eyes filled with tears, but this time they were tears of relief and joy. Daniel stepped closer and asked the words she had dreamed of hearing for so long. "Will you marry me, and continue this story with me forever?" Emma smiled through her tears. All the lonely evenings, the waiting, the hope she protected in her heart, it had led to this moment. She nodded gently and whispered, "Yes." Daniel slipped the ring onto her finger as the stars shone brightly above them. Standing together on the hill where their story had grown, they watched the night sky in peaceful silence. Their journey had not been easy, but love had guided them back to each other. Moral lesson. True love is not only about finding the right person. It is about patience, trust, and the courage to wait for the right moment. Sometimes life separates hearts for a while, but if the love is real, it will always find its way back home. Red Heart.